Investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance is nearing the 3-month mark tonight, with no new leads, no arrests, and most importantly, no sign of Nancy Guthrie. Skepticism and scrutiny of the investigation, on the other hand, are in abundance, particularly regarding Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. Since there is no progress to report, many are asking why. And now it's more than just bad PR. Sheriff Nanos is the focus of a probe himself, and it could cost him his job. It's not for his present actions, however, with the Guthrie investigation. It's rather about allegations in his past. The Pima County Board of Supervisors is leading the investigation after reports that Sheriff Nanos misrepresented his work history on his resume while he was at the El Paso Police Department before he joined Pima County's. The board demanded Nanos disclose all circumstances about his departure from the El Paso department and to clarify the dates of his employment as well as any prior disciplinary actions. Nanos' attorney responded yesterday with a 22-page document. It reads in part that whatever the sheriff did or did not do before being elected is necessarily unrelated to his performance of his duties in office. Whether others agree remains to be seen. The board will review the sheriff's answers in an executive session in a few weeks. For more, we're joined by Dr. Matt Heinz, Vice Chair for the Pima County Board of Supervisors. Matthew, it's great to have you. Did he refuse to answer the questions about disciplinary action that was taken against him at the El Paso Police Department?
Yeah, it certainly seems pretty problematic to me. I mean, I've reviewed his responses with my team, with some other lawyers as well, and I'm certainly not satisfied with these responses. And what he did in El Paso, I mean, one of the things he was suspended for, 37 days of suspension in El Paso. 15 of those days occurred after he beat almost to death a handcuffed robbery suspect who was in the back of a squad car with a flashlight. He's a bad cop. He made really bad decisions and then lied about his past to convince then Pima County officials to hire him back in 1984. He also lied about that gap in time. He used to say 1982, so that got changed. But the point here is this man, we shouldn't even know his name. We should not know the name Nanos. He has perpetrated a fraud for 4 decades upon my community, and it is, frankly, it's shameful and insulting to the 1,500 men and women of that amazing law enforcement agency that he heads currently every day he walks in the door.
That story of beating a suspect who was handcuffed with a flashlight until you say beat him nearly to death, were there charges filed? I mean, that would certainly seem to call for some criminal charges.
Look, the El Paso Police Department was sued over this matter, and eventually that was one of the things that led the El Paso Police Department to force him to resign in lieu of termination. That gentleman was put in the ICU for days, and there were multiple news stories about that at the time when it happened.
What do you make? I mean, he is saying, look, whatever I did or didn't do decades ago has nothing to do with how I'm leading the Guthrie investigation and how I'm currently serving as sheriff of Pima County. You clearly don't buy that.
Not at all. Look, these actions are incredibly significant. The fact that he came to Pima County and the first official act that he did here was to lie about his history, and that's how he got peace officer certification. Nobody can be serving in law enforcement at any level in the state of Arizona unless they get peace officer certification, and he could not have possibly revealed that history to the board at the time that this happened, that he got a job. And that means he perpetrated a fraud for decades upon the people of my community.
And how do you think he has handled the Nancy Guthrie investigation? As you know, there's been a lot of questions about how he handled the crime scene, how he handled the DNA evidence. What is your assessment?
So I'm a physician and a supervisor on the board. I am not in law enforcement, but I will say relationships in these kinds of situations matter and time matters. And I say that because it is pretty clear that his past run-ins with the Federal Bureau of Investigation back in 2015, when he was almost indicted for RICO charges at the time, which they did not end up going forward with, he has held a grudge against the FBI and refused to fully work with them going forward. And I think we see examples of the results of that with regard to the most recent high-profile investigation.
And perhaps maybe jeopardized elements of that, do you think, yes or no?
Very possible.
Matthew Heinz, keep us posted. Very important what you're saying. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.